So we all know about like the controversies surrounding the Olympics this year, right?
Yeah, there's been a few.
Clear example, the opening ceremony for Paris. A lot of people was offended by it. The original video got taken down from YouTube because it had so much backlash, and it was just basically based off misinformation. And people were like complaining about it.
Yeah, they gave more of a platform to controversial opening because there was a split second where in the opening there was this table which actually ended up being a catwalk. There were like 16 people, and then there was someone in the middle with like a crown around their head, and some people associated that image with the Last Supper.
Yes, a painting by Leonardo da Vinci. So you could say is basically one of the first Christian fan art.
Fan art.
And like
way to describe it.
And like people like especially like a lot of Christians hold that painting like in such like high standard,
like a symbol of their Christianity. So the opening was about the Feast of Dionysus and not about the Last Supper, but still a lot of Christians went to social media to criticize and complain about it to the point where it got taken down. And it says here on an article that the Olympic Organizing Committee apologized for the controversial performance at the opening ceremony. So apparently cancel culture also can be done by Christians.
And I thought at first it was the one that like created the idea of the whole ceremony. I thought he was the one that apologized, but he actually just went out and cleared the reason of like why he chose that theme for the ceremony. And again, it's just celebrating stuff that represents like the history of France, because France has a system where they do know how to like separate church and state. It's not like here in the States where the lines are getting pretty blurred as we go. Mm-hmm. So
it feels like it was a cultural misunderstanding. As we all know, there are a lot of things that European countries, as well as the other side of the world, shares and have different cultures from this side of the Western world. Well, sometimes those things might clash. It's all about their own culture over there and us as a modern society being like, no, these are our beliefs and this is our culture. I feel like that's inherently wrong to tell other countries that have some similar imagery within our religion and our culture to be entitled in a way to be like, well, that's wrong. Well, you're making it about me, when that's not true.
When in reality, they're making it about them, because just because you see some similarities to something doesn't mean that they're actually like mocking what it is, the Last Supper. I don't know that much about the history of France and stuff like that, but I did kind of like read up a little bit about that specifically, which is what other people don't do. Like, they refuse to see the truth. They rather just ramble about it. It is about like the Last Supper because this and this and this and that. And people are like saying like, hey, it's not about that. It's about this. You should read up on this. It just gets triggered. Just read. It doesn't cost anything to do your own research. And then when you try to like educate them in the most simple and respectful way possible, they're like, no, you're giving into like liberal propaganda. You're going woke. And it's like, it's not going woke. It's just having a decent amount of comprehension skills and common sense.
It's just, it's probably not always about you.
Yes, and we're seeing that a lot with other issues. The other thing would be the controversy surrounding the female boxer.
Man Khalif.
Yes. I also like at first kind of like believed that she was a trans woman because I didn't know much about the boxer.
And based on the other person's reaction, like you would think, oh my God, then this is an actual thing. Like they made it such a big deal that at first glance, you really think, oh wait, something's actually going on here.
They also use like the worst pictures possible of her and posted it online. Like, see, she's a man because she has like specific shape of jawline and she's buff and whatever. When the Italian boxer that she faced that didn't last like not even a minute on the ring with her has like a past of being problematic herself, because this is not the first time that she does this. There was another fight, I don't remember the exact year, if it was like 2019 or
16.
something. 2016?
Yes.
Yeah, that she did the same thing with another female boxer where she faked an injury.
Oh, and that one was kind of funny.
Because
you could see that she just like fell. You know how like WWE does it? You know that it's fake. Sorry about that, but it's true. It's just acting.
I mean, everybody knows that. Yeah, performance.
Yeah, no, but there are some WWE fans that get triggered when you say
really
that it's fake. Yeah. I know people. I know people who have done that.
I'm sorry, but y'all are stupid. Like
yeah. But yeah, so it looked kind of funny. It looked, very sloppy. Kind of like when LeBron James does his thing, where he screams foul, but you can see it was clearly fake. Like no one actually touched him, but he's like, you can see in the videos, like he's like crying because it hurt or something.
So yeah, it's not the first time that she does this. And now with the whole thing that happened online, because like one of the people that started like spreading this misinformation, like giving into it, which some people may say, oh, but like freedom of speech, blah blah blah. Like no, because these are people that have a platform. Like an example, I can tell you, J.K. Rowling, Elon Musk. Now, like in Make Believe is like forming a lawsuit against them, and I think there was
Which I'm happy about. Sorry to interrupt you, but I'm very happy that she's going forward with this lawsuit. You know why? Because it stops people like J.K. Rowling and Elon Musk to feel emboldened to make these claims of misinformation.
And we all know, well, not all of us, because some of y'all really be like writing on that dude and like justifying every little action that he does on his platform X. I will never call it X-Chan.
Yeah.
Twitter, whatever. Like, I really don't care about that platform at all. It was already a cesspool before he came in. Then when he did take over Twitter, it became even worse. Right now, the stock sales are going down because of all this shit, because there's a lot of people in there that have like given into this narrative of just like saying, no, this person is actually trans, blah, blah, when there has been like multiple like articles and stuff like covering this whole thing and debunking it, because it was people just spread misinformation from the beginning. It's so stupid that people like just refuse to see the truth. She had to go to lengths that nobody is ever supposed to go to prove that she was a woman. She's from a country that it's illegal to be gay, let alone transgender. So there was no way that if she was trans, she would have been marked as a woman in her passport, because again,
or her birth certificate.
Yeah, exactly, because like their passport, like the information that they put on the passport, like comes from the birth certificate. Again, this is all so stupid. It's so exhausting to go like on like places like Facebook or whatever, and there's still people like throwing in the same old jokes, joking about her being an actual man. Dude, just like read up on it. She won the gold medal, and now she's suing these people's ass because of the misinformation they helped spread on these platforms. Again, it's people that have a platform of their own, or have a huge following. The whole point basically is like these people just helping spread misinformation. But again, at the end of the day, she ended up winning, and it doesn't matter like how much hate she still receives, she already won. She doesn't care about like the critics anymore. Obviously, like it hurt her because it was hard for her to become a boxer from the get go. So imagine like finally accomplishing your dream and people like trashing on you and like trying to hurt your reputation in a way that it clashes with your dream, being a boxer.
Like I said, I'm really glad that she's taking legal action. I do believe in freedom of speech. I feel like we can benefit greatly from having freedom of speech and having less censorship. But also, there's a fine line where freedom of speech should not absolve you from freedom of consequences. And these people being emboldened to come up to social medias and talking and spreading misinformation and saying this person is actually a man, and to the point where it's defamation.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there should be a limit and a consequence to spreading those types of rhetoric, because at the end of the day, it's very dangerous to be telling people those things and saying, look, they allow trans people in the boxing community and things like that. And the trans community is suffering already as it is. So a minority that is being attacked on our legislations here in the US, that at the end of the day, it's harmful rhetoric and there should be consequences for your actions. So I'm glad for her. I'm glad that she won the gold medal. Suck it. So yeah, it's a good ending.
Yeah, it really is, because she's not the only one like suffering because of this type of like behavior. There's other female athletes that are also being accused of secretly being a man. People are just looking for an excuse to be transphobic because these are women. Obviously, they're athletes. They're going to look kind of buff because it doesn't fit the standards of some people of what a woman is supposed to look like or whatever. They just go ahead and attack their reputation and, just start saying stuff that is not true just because it fits like their little narrative and helps them sleep at night. I truly believe that at least like half of these people that were saying and spreading misinformation about like these female athletes, and especially like May Khalif, I feel like once they started seeing like, no, she is actually a biological woman. I truly believe that some of them were like, oh well, I can't go back, so might as well keep on with the same narrative and saying that she's actually trans, because they don't want to admit that they were wrong. They don't want to own up to it. They don't want to take any type of responsibility. If I was them, I would delete my social media. I would just disappear.
I would move to another country, maybe
change my name,
Tibet or somewhere where there's no Wi-Fi.
Yeah. It's messed up. There's other things going on that are more important that people should actually focus on. But they decide to focus on these stupid narratives and misinformation. It's messed up. What do you gain by doing that type of stuff to other people? I guess you're too unhappy with yourself and how you're living your life. Yeah. You need to focus on someone else. Do not focus on your shitty ass life.
Oh, and another thing, because this is the funny part. They wasted so much energy and resource focusing on Ivan Khalif and saying that she's whatever, but they did not mention, or at least I didn't see it enough on the news. They did not mention that there was actually an actual participating in the Olympics. So this man was a Dutch player in the volleyball games called Steven van de Velde.
I hope we didn't butcher his name. I don't really care.
Yeah,
we don't really care. Like, he doesn't deserve respect at all. There is like errors that people like do in life that are redeemable, but like being an actual and then just have the audacity to show your face in the Olympics instead of just crawling back into a hole.
So this man was convicted of a 12-year-old girl during 2016. So it was this British 12-year-old girl whom he just flew to England to meet, knowing that she was a 12-year-old. And he got convicted of it over there in England. So this guy, who was supposed to serve 4 years in prison, he ended up serving 13 months. And then he had the audacity to participate in the Olympics and not get disqualified. What do you think about that?
Then he had the audacity of like crying about it afterwards. Like, that's crazy. Like, imagine you knowing that you're like, I mean, he was eliminated, so it's at the end of the day, I don't know why he even participated in the first place. And then he was crying about it in an interview about how he was booed by the public when he came in. What do you expect? People receive you with roses and stuff like that? You're a child.
But yeah, so they mainly focused on Imam Khalif and this controversy, which ended up being false, when there was this other issue, which to me should have had a better highlight. Because it's not okay. Why are we bringing to compete in the Olympics?
And this seems to be the same type of thing among the people that were helping spread misinformation about Imam Khalif and complaining about the Olympics ceremony. It's so weird. They always seem to focus more on stuff that has to do with like gay people, drag queens, and that's it. But when it comes to an actual predator, they seem to like sweep it under the rug.
This is the same crowd that spew, oh, it's for the children, it's for the children. And when there's an actual child involved that was affected by this, total silence.
Radio silence.
Who are they actually trying to protect here?
It's their own self-interest. They're trying to protect their own self-interest. The hate that they spew out to the public and out to the LGBTQ community, drag queens, and like everybody else in general that don't fall under their little box, they're just projecting, basically. They're just projecting the way that they think and the way that they see the world onto the rest of society. And it's disgusting. It's disgusting. It's weird in general, you know, with everything happening here in the States, but like also around the world. There's better things to focus on. Like it takes zero effort to be nice to people. Like, y'all want to like talk about like, you know, oh, we gotta like be nice to our neighbor, la la, and like following certain scriptures of the Bible, but y'all don't apply like them like it's supposed to. You only apply them when it's convenient, and that's not how it works.
They only apply the hateful ones.
Yeah.
The ones that are divisive, the ones that are hateful, the ones that alienate everybody else who doesn't subscribe to their view or their religion.
They also misinterpret like the actual good scriptures and like turn it like they just turn the whole thing into like a hateful, you know, just being hateful. Like they just like to be hateful.
And like you said, it takes zero effort. It takes zero effort to just be a decent human being.
Yeah.
Why is it so hard for them to?
I feel like it takes out more energy.
Yes.
Being mad and being rude to other people and actually being nice.
Mm-hmm.
Like it takes zero effort. I mean, I can't like completely blame the education system in this country, even though it has failed us in a lot of ways, because y'all lack a lot of like comprehension skills and critical thinking and also like common sense. But a lot of us had to learn those stuff by ourselves. So I don't know, you know, it's no excuse. It's just people that want to stay in that little box, stay in the little comfort zone, because it's harder for them to actually come out there and be nice to each other
and grow.
and like actually read upon what you see online and not just spew the first headline that you see from, I don't know, like XYZ news outlet. Just do not name, like, because we all know which news outlet specifically likes to like spew out hate and misinformation, spread propaganda and stuff. And it really takes no effort.
It's actually exhausting to me.
Yeah.
Like I had interactions in Thread earlier with people that are like, "Oh, but you're participating in your own echo chamber," and I'm like, "Yeah, I admit that sometimes people like us, we sometimes fall in the echo chamber, but it's because it's exhausting. It's exhausting to have to try to have a conversation with these people because they're so set on their ways. They're so set on their ways, on their traditionalist, Christian nationalism, all that stuff. And it takes a toll on you at the end of the day where you just give up on these people. They make you want to give up and not engage with them or talk to them.
I always try to show like some sort of respect at the beginning, but once like, the conversation keeps on and they just get like stuck in their own like echo chamber and their own like stupid narrative, and they just like refuse to like listen to you. I'm like, you know what? There's no saving you. There's no saving you. I'm not gonna waste my energy anymore. And it's also because like it's stuff that doesn't affect them specifically. Like
exactly. I think that's the main issue. A lot of these people react in certain ways because it's stuff that either never affects them, and a lot of them actually change their mind when it affects them. But most of them, since it's something that never affects them, they don't see it as problematic or that they need to change any view. Just kind of sad.
I get angry at these people, but at the same time, I feel kind of sad because, again, I couldn't live with myself thinking that way and hating on other people. It's just, it's enough with what we're all going through in this country to like having to deal with rude ass people like this. And then it's like grown ass adults. That's the most embarrassing part. Grown ass adults going against like younger people and making up like these imaginary enemies in their head. They're just like separating themselves from the rest of society by being this way. And then they go ahead and cry, oh, like, y'all are separating us from like the rest of society by saying this,
oh,
this,
don't
this,
alienate us.
Don't alienate us, blah, blah.
Please participate in our echo chambers. Oh.
But y'all like refuse to change, and like nobody wants to be part of culty ass behavior
and toxicity. The level of toxicity is, oh my god.
I've already dealt with enough toxicity in my life, like with my own flesh and blood. I do not want to like let like strangers do that shit to me. It is exhausting to like research and read and like see all this crazy stuff happening online, but it is important to keep yourself informed and know, like develop those comprehension skills and analytical skills and common sense and all that, and just critical thinking in general, just to like, like when you're doing your own research, try to have an unbiased way of thinking. Develop those skills to try to like identify what it is propaganda and what it's not. That's where like a lot of people have problem with that. And again, it's sad when it comes to a point where you start seeing things more clearly, but some of the people around you don't. It's exhausting. It's exhausting because sometimes I like to share my point of view about all these things happening with the people around me, and when they don't like reciprocate or they have a way of thinking where it's just plain wrong no matter how much you teach them, it's kind of exhausting. And it's better to just like cut yourself off from people like that. But again, it also becomes exhausting to having to like separate yourself from people that you know and like try to like avoid strangers wherever you go or online that follow this silly ass narrative.
So yeah, at the end of the day, the Olympics basically brought a lot of issues to the surface, social issues to the surface. Yeah, and a lot of those were issues that were being dragged from way before the Olympics. But yeah, there was a lot of controversy surrounding all these topics. I feel like these Olympics brought out the divisiveness that we're seeing today in the US and probably in other countries as well. There's a lot of social divisiveness. And it's very concerning. A lot of it comes from a place of, I guess, ignorance and the role that social media is playing on our cultures and our human experiences. We have to be very careful with what we consume.
It's funny because the same people that would tell us when we were little, don't believe everything you see online, are the first in line to believe any sort of stupid shit they see on the internet. Like, it's crazy. They see a headline, let's say an example about the Olympics, and without reading the whole thing or looking for like information all over the internet and confirming that if that's true or not, they just go ahead with the headline like, oh, do you see this? Like, you know, this person is actually trans. The same thing with everything. The same thing with politics. The same thing with famous people or just stuff that happens in general in this country and like not just in this country, in the world.
And also it's weird that when they see these news articles and these titles, they feel so triggered by them without even seeing the context or looking for extra information, and they go on social media and they start writing a bunch of hateful stuff. Like they feel like it's their right to just be hateful and say whatever it comes to their mind, like the first thought in their head. This is just plain weird, to be honest. It's just weird.
They just want for people to live their life like they do, and that's not how it works. And again, a lot of this revolves around their own belief system and plain ignorance, because it is not supposed to be a Christian nation. You know, it's supposed to be separation of church and state.
The Constitution was built under a secular mindset. The argument that this is a Christian nation is completely false.
I think that, and again, I know that there's other countries that don't have a perfect system. I know that they have their faults, whatever. But there's stuff that they have that are way better than here in the States.
Things that are clearly working.
Yes. The United States should take notes from that. If other countries don't have everything perfect or whatever, they should look for ways here in the States to make it better. You know, make it in a way where it's better for the people. I guess that a lesson that y'all can learn from this video is don't believe everything you see online.
And the Olympics had a lot of controversy, and at the end of the day, we just don't actually care about sports. I don't know why people were so uptight about all these things.
I mean,
besides the PDF file, that should have been an issue that should have been addressed.
Yes.
But other than that, just, I don't know, live and let live at the end of the day. Live and let live.
Yeah. The angle that we wanted to take with this video is basically talk about how, like, in general, people just don't want to see the truth for what it is. They just rather go along with whatever they see instead of doing actual research. The important thing when looking for information is looking at it from both sides of the coin, not just from your perspective. Just see other people's perspective And, just respect one another. We need to be more kind to each other in general and stop doing these hateful actions, like in person and online.
Mhm.
Because you never know when it will come back to bite you in the ass.
So if you like this video, comment, click, like, subscribe, and I guess we'll see each other on the next video.